Spirit 105.3. This is Erica.
Hi, Erica. It's Luke here with King Country. How you doing today?
Luke, it's so great to hear your voice. I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I feel particularly good today. So, that's always a good thing.
So you and Joel are asking a question. What are we waiting for? I feel like it's been this song. This song is resonating with me so much because, Luke, for me, the light bulb is, Erica, stop and just breathe and remember that you're alive today. And God just wants you to love people. So what is that light bulb for you as you listen to your own song?
Oh, man. The story of this song is we wrote the album through the pandemic, obviously, and it was getting to the end part where we were writing the music, and we didn't want the album to become like pandemic songs, if that makes sense. But I do think that there were an unbelievable amount of lessons that we could take with us through the pandemic. And one of them was we realized that there was an unbelievable amount of stories of people recognizing that life was fragile, A, and B, that there were things that God had called them to do and act out and so forth and so on that had kind of laid dormant in their life. And then when the pandemic was going on, you realize that life is fragile. And so the question that we wanted to ask people was like, man, when seemingly things get back to normal, let's not just live life normally again. Let's take the very things that we learned from this very, very difficult situation for not only just America, but for the world. And a lot of that has to do with what are we waiting for? Like, well, the things that have been laid dormant in your life, why aren't those things that we actually start acting out? Why aren't those things the things that we actually start doing? And my hope is that not only to my brother Joel and I, because we a lot of times write these songs actually to our own hearts and souls, is that people will hear the hope behind, man, we've got one life and we don't know what happens next. We don't know what's happening next week. Yes. We don't know what's happening the weeks after that, but we have been given today, and let's go do something about it.
Oh, I love it so much. Well, I saw that you and Courtney just celebrated 4,745 days of marriage. I had to do the math because Joel did the days in his post on Instagram. So congratulations on that.
That's the most Joel thing I've ever heard in my life.
His was like 3,650. So,
yep.
So I have to ask you, you've been married for 13 years. What's your best advice for somebody who's just starting on this journey, Luke?
Well, a lot of people will freak you out by saying, oh, you're getting married, and they talk about all the negative side or the complications of what their marriage is. And that doesn't have to be marriage. I think that sometimes we project our own feelings and thoughts on a lot of other people, but marriage is God's sanctifying process of life. And I think it's one of the great institutions ever created. And for me, what I would say is you come into marriage with a lot of expectations and with a lot of hopes, and you have a lot of dreams, and those things should stay, and those are things that should be talked about. But one of the things that I underestimate, and I think that everybody underestimates, is the power of giving your spouse a little grace, giving your spouse a little space to when things aren't going so well. I think I started marriage with extremely high expectations, and my wife gave me the grace of recognizing that, hey, I think you're asking there's a little bit too much expected here. And I think that sometimes when there's don't sweat the small things, right? There's obviously got to be communication. There's got to be when there's a big issue, the big issue has to be addressed. But at the same time, the small things, sometimes we get so upset about things not necessarily being perfect. And at the end of the day, marriage was never designed to be perfect, but it was designed to have someone to journey life through with. And I think it's important to kind of keep that perspective in life.
So well said. We're swimming back now to the shallow end of the pool. How's your summer going, and what's your favorite part of this time of year?
Oh, favorite part of summer. Well, summer's going well. I think that we're having, my kids are getting a little older. People with older kids than me will be like, your kids aren't that old. But I got my oldest is 10, 8, 6, and a 2-year-old. So I kind of got like this weird thing of like kids that are well and truly making lifetime memories that they will never forget, while also having a 2-year-old who's still learning how to talk. So
right.
There's this interesting straddle going on. But I have just enjoyed being able to get outside. I actually enjoy working on the yard and things. I mow our lawn, and I enjoy it. And I just like the long days. Am I the only one that thinks that? But I enjoy when it's 8:30 and it's still light. You may be getting the kids ready for bed, but it's like there's a full day. I love the evening air. It's like 7 p.m., 6:30, 7 p.m., where it's like still warm. You can still get outside. You can still play, but you're not like going to be suffering from heat stroke within 15 minutes. That's probably my favorite.
You know, I have a theory about this, Luke, that feeling that you're describing. I think it's because we go back to feeling like kids again this time of year. We have so many memories from those seasons in our lives.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that we forget the power of reminiscing is incredibly powerful. And one of the things that happened to me just a few weeks ago is I was outside. I saw the kids running around on their bikes. They were playing basketball. I think I was mowing. Evie was on my lap. And I consciously remember thinking, this is one of the great memories that I will ever live.
Yes.
Soak it up.
Oh, I love that so much. Well, it is summer. It's Christmas in July, and we are celebrating around here because we found out yesterday that you guys are coming to Seattle, and it's so aptly put. It's a Drummer Boy Christmas, the 2023 tour experience. When you guys put on a show, especially a Christmas show, it is an experience, Luke. We're so excited you're coming.
Oh, you guys are sweet. Man, we love Seattle. I've often said Seattle is one of the coolest cities in America, and we have always had wonderful experiences with you guys. I love Christmas because Christmas you get to sing the greatest songs ever written.
Yes.
And people are like, well, how can you say that? And I said, well, because of this. C.S. Lewis used to say the only books worth reading are the ones that have been around for 50 years because if they're still around after 50 years, they must be good.
Wow.
I think music is similar in that, you've got people would say like the Beatles are the greatest songwriters, the most gifted, whatever. And they probably in modern day they are. But the only thing that can compete with that is Christmas music.
Yes.
Because Christmas music goes back centuries.
Yes.
It laughs at what the Beatles have done. You got Oh Holy Night and Silent Night. And you're just kind of looking at them like, oh, you guys are chump change. And so everybody knows these songs. Everybody gets to experience these songs. And I think that's what makes Christmas. And then at the end of the day, they're so good, you're left in awe.
Yeah.
And that awe turns into worship. And I think that's what's so powerful about Christmas.
I mean, when people come to your Christmas shows, I'm sure some of them are not believers. Do you ever hear stories about people finding hope in Jesus for the first time at your shows?
One of the things that probably as I've gotten a little bit older, I was kind of raised in a this equals that spiritually and that equals this, and you get what you put in and all that sort of stuff. And I've started to realize that maybe my theology is a little bit faulty. And I've forgotten the power of simply the Holy Spirit showing up in and amongst us. And what happens to us is sometimes it's not necessarily a speech. It's like that people will come and they will leave changed. And they will email us saying, hey, I listened to this song and I realized that there was a Heavenly Father who loved me. The song may not even be about the very thing that changed them, but yet somehow something took place. And that to me is obviously the power of Jesus, but also the power of music and the power of what can happen if you give God your life. Look at the amazing things that he can do with it. And I think it's similar with like a concert. I think it's similar with a song. If you give God a song, if you give God a concert, just sit back and watch that absolutely astounding things will take place.
Oh, that's so wonderful. All right, I got to ask you about what your mom said on Instagram. You have this habit that maybe turned out well for you. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, is she talking about me like tapping on the table or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I grew up ignoring the snot out of my whole family. And what's funny is, as drummers come, I'm not very good. And I'm not even trying to be humble. If you talk to real drummers, they're like, Luke's not a very good drummer. But I've always had such a love for drums. And what I probably think I love the most is beats and coming up with beats. Yes. I'm not like this, Juilliard drummer. I can do what I need to do. I can make it look hard and complicated. And can people go, he's really good. I'm not really that good. But when it comes to the creation of beats and those types of things, man, you'd be amazed at how many times that comes from me tapping on things. And I'll just put a voice memo and I'll tap it. And then we'll take it into the studio and we'll end up using it.
Whoa.
It's just that's what I love. I've always loved. I mean, I'll hit anything and listen to the tone, and that's just still to this day. And what's funny is it's coming out in my middle son. He does the same thing, and it's a sick, twisted addiction that we have.
Oh, I love it. But you guys transformed this traditional Christmas carol, The Little Drummer Boy, into something extraordinary. Like you get the chills when you hear it.
Well, I mean, all we did is we just kind of took the role of being drummers seriously in a song called Drummer Boy. We weren't like rocket scientists, apparently everybody else was just that silly, I don't know.
Oh, well, I love it so much. Luke, you're a joy. And I always have to tell you before I really officially let you go here, I never forget when you were there for my son, talking to him when he had ulcerative colitis. It's every time I talk to you, I have to remind you how much that meant to him.
Oh, all, man. Anytime. I've had my own slight little reoccurrence of late that has had me. And I'm good. I'm nothing like what it was.
Yeah.
But it has brought me to my knees in fresh ways. And, in some cases, that might be the design. I find great comfort with Paul, who had obviously some sort of ailment. And he says, I asked the Lord 3 times to heal me of something, while literally healing seemingly probably thousands and maybe tens of thousands of other people, if I could guess, in Paul's life, and he wouldn't heal him.
Wow.
And, in some cases, I feel I will not stop asking for total healing and not just symptoms being suppressed. But I have seen the faithfulness of Jesus in my, I don't want to call it suffering fully because suffering is relative, and so other people are going through far worse things than me. But through struggle, I've seen the faithfulness of Jesus. And so how can I ever look up and say, why? I
got to tell you, I'm tearing up here, Luke. I can't wait to share this with Josh, and we're going to be praying for you, Luke. We appreciate you and love you and your brother and your whole family.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
We'll see you in December.
We'll see you there. Looking forward to it. Let's sing some carols together. How about it?
All right. Merry Christmas in July.
Merry Christmas. Have a good one.